DBS's digital banking services have yet to return to normal 3 days after the disruption first occurred. As at this morning, some customers were still unable to make transactions on the bank's website and mobile app. Others saying they managed to log in but could not make transactions or view their previous debits and credits. It's the bank's worst outage in more than a decade.
We acknowledge the gravity of the situation, and as we work to resolve matters, we seek your patience and understanding. In the meantime, I want to assure you that your deposits and monies are safe, and that you can continue with your banking needs either through our branches or through phone banking.
And in its last update at 10:35 p.m. last night, DBS said its digital banking services are returning to normal and it's monitoring the situation closely. To shed more light on this is journalist Rei Kurohi. Rei, this is DBS's worst disruption since 2010 when a major systems failure took down all of its consumer and business banking services. But what makes this incident so serious?
Well, Olivia, I think we're looking primarily at the length of time that the services were affected. We don't have an exact number of hours because yesterday morning, DBS did say that most of their services were back online, but then the problem recurred. So some users were facing issues again yesterday morning, but overall it has lasted, we could say 2 days. This morning, there were still some users facing issues, but DBS said that they just need to reset their apps.
Right. So DBS's country manager for Singapore says the access control servers is responsible. Now, these are part of a bank's security system handling login and payment verification. So having said that, does it point to a cybersecurity breach?
Well, DBS hasn't specified the reason for the incident, but one of the cybersecurity experts I spoke to yesterday did indicate that in his experience, the worst case scenario, like a cyber attack, is usually recognized quite quickly. So I imagine if it were in fact a cybersecurity incident, they would have wanted to make that known as quickly as possible.
And Rei, do you know of any specific cases of how businesses were affected by this disruption?
So into the second day of the disruption yesterday, we did see that some of the functions had already come back online. We're talking about ATM withdrawals, card payments, and even the DBS PayLah app, which is a separate app from the main DBS digital banking app. So this means that if a business relied primarily on card payments or used PayLah, then they wouldn't really be affected. It would be more the smaller businesses, perhaps, that rely primarily on PayNow. But thinking, I spoke to a hairdresser who said some of the customers usually pay her by PayNow have difficulties. There was also a home baker who said something similar. So I think it will primarily be those smaller businesses that would have been affected.
Well, Rei, looking forward, the Monetary Authority of Singapore has said it will consider supervisory actions. What could that entail, and what other repercussions could DBS face?
Well, it can range from anything from a reprimand, which is simply where the MAS tells the bank, please do better, to a fine or other regulatory actions. In 2010, as the incident you mentioned earlier, in that incident, DBS was asked to set aside about $230 million extra in regulatory capital for operational risk. So essentially, what that means is they had to lock up that amount just in case of any other issues. In terms of other reputational hits, for example, we know that DBS has been named the best bank in the world for the last few years, and perhaps that could be one area where consumers' confidence in the bank might be shaken. I spoke to one customer yesterday who said that she only used DBS for internet banking, and she was unable to make a fairly urgent payment. So she was considering switching to another bank or at least setting up internet banking with one of her other banks as a result of this incident.